Today on Read the Room, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Aaliyah. If you've been around here for a long time, you will know I love Aaliyah dearly, and I will leave the last reading I did for Aaliyah down below. I wasn't really aware of the dates coming up, but Spirit for the past few days were like, play Aaliyah, play Aaliyah, play Aaliyah, and I was like, wow, this is coming through strongly. And whenever something's coming through strongly, I know there's an anniversary or something coming up. And so I went and I looked up the date and I was like, because I know Aaliyah passed in August, but I didn't remember the day. And I was like, And so I last read for Aaliyah 2 years ago today. And as, you know, her energy started to get closer to me, yesterday I heard loved ones. And I confirmed again that with Aaliyah's energy that she wants me to read on those who were closest to her, who loved her the most. She wants me to go into their relationships, because if you did watch the last reading, it makes complete sense. She was so much about giving people their flowers and thanking them and showing gratitude to them. She was a deeply loving soul to those who she loved. Aaliyah was very, very private. She was a Capricorn, but when you were in her circle, my goodness, she loved you. So she only had people who she deeply loved in her close circle. If you were close to her, if she had you as a friend, if she called you a friend, you know, she loved you dearly. And so today, in today's Read the Room, we are reading Aaliyah's loved ones, her relationship with them and what she wants them to know now. We are reading on Damon Dash, Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, Timbaland, Khadijah Jones, and Aaliyah's mother and her brother. Those are the people that I channeled when I was asking her, you know, who she wants to be in this reading. Those are the people who came up. So let's get into reading for Aaliyah's loved ones. We're going to start with Aaliyah's mother and brother. First of all, she just wants to say, I love you so much. I love you so much. There's so much love coming through from her for them. And a big thank you. She's actually bringing flowers. So she talked about, before I turned on the camera and I was connecting with her energy, she talked about giving people her flowers. And I often say with Aaliyah, she's not given enough of her flowers. Like the way that women in the industry dress today, let's talk about Kehlani, let's talk about, I don't know, let's just say Kehlani for the moment. They are styled on Aaliyah. Aaliyah revived the R&B game for female artists. And I'm sure you can think of so many other people who wear baggy trousers, cropped shirts, you know, have that swag. That comes from Aaliyah. Even if you go onto like the high street and you look at fashion now, it's inspired by Aaliyah. The bandanas, even the sweatshirts, you know, she inspired so much. And she's never given her props and her due. If you ask R&B singers now, these young girls, who inspired you? They always say Beyonce. And listen, props to Beyonce, yes, but they ain't out here looking like Beyonce. They're out here looking and trying to imitate the swag of Aaliyah. Now, either it's they don't know they're being branded in that way and it's their music label, I don't know. But I would love to see a lot more props coming for Aaliyah because she deserves it. And Aaliyah was all about that and is still about that from the other side. She's really about letting people know how much she loved them, because like I said, if you were in her circle, my goodness, you were lucky, because she did have such a wall up around her. You know, you were lucky to get in. So she loved those who were in her circle, and she's very protective of her mum and brother, even from the other side. I feel like Aaliyah's energy is very much always in the room, like any business meetings they've had to have, any things about the brand, anything like that, her energy is very much there, and I feel like they still feel her. I feel like everyone on this list actually still feels her. She likes to make her presence very known from the other side. In terms of her mother and brother, there's just a lot of forgiveness, and she would ask the public forgive them too. That's what she's saying. She would ask that the public forgive them too, because at the end of the day, she's saying if I was able to forgive them, and she's touching like my heart, I can feel in my heart, she's saying if I was able to forgive them, then I would like for you to forgive them too. She's saying that my mother did what was right, what she felt was right at the time, and I love my mother immensely. Her brother, she wants to say, she's like bringing through these like names, and she's like saying, you know, we had such a like they would dig at each other, but it would be like a joke, like, and she's saying kid, so I don't know if he called her kid or she called him kid. It'd be like, what's up kid, like, you know, where they would like really like pick at each other, but in a siblingly loving way. As she started to talk about her brother, the sun's actually just started shining. You may have noticed the light change, because he really was a light in her life. She doesn't want to focus too much on her mother. She is bringing me straight over to her brother, and I feel like her brother has a woman in his life now. I don't know whether her brother is married, but I feel like a marriage is coming. She's very happy for this union, and she's talking about kids coming into the picture, and she's saying Auntie Leah, so she's very happy with you know, where things are going in his life. She's saying soulmate. Oh, sorry. She's saying he was like a soulmate to me, and still is, and they had a very close relationship. She's not crying, this is me. She's very happy actually. The energy I pick up from Aaliyah, very happy, feeling very positive. Happy to be talking about those she loved. And she's saying he was my biggest fan, he was my #1 fan, he still is, he still plays her music. She's taking the mick out of him at the way he would sing, because she's saying he wasn't a very good singer, and she was a very jokey person, Aaliyah. If you didn't know that, she had a very good sense of humour. If you were lucky enough to know her very well, you would know she had a really good sense of humour. She had a quick wit, and you know, she's saying, you know, we always said I was the talent of the family, because she's saying he always felt like he was the shadow, but not in a nasty way, but in a way they would joke about it, you know, like she was the star and he was the shadow. But that's what they were. They balanced each other so well, and she loves him dearly, 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 dearly. And he misses her so much. And you know, she's putting her arms out, she cuddles him a lot. He feels her, he feels like coldness, I feel like, on his arms. That is her around him. And just so much love. I don't know whether he's going to play a sporting tournament. I don't think this is something we'll ever know, but she's talking about a sporting tournament, and he's saying break a leg. Like, she had that sense of humour. That's how they were with each other. They had a very playful relationship, you know. They would like banter each other, and I love that. I actually love that energy. Like, she's saying break a leg, like, you know, it's just, that's how they would have been with each other. So I love that so much, and she's ready to move on now. So we're going to go into Jay-Z, and she's saying this isn't going to be a long dive into her relationship with Jay-Z, because the reason I feel she wanted to talk about it is because it was a high profile friendship. And she wants people to know a bit more about her friendship with Jay-Z, because she's saying, you know, we had a very interesting friendship. He wasn't someone who would call her up and be like, Leah, you know, and she wouldn't call him and be like, Jay, but when they would see each other, they would sit and talk for long periods of time. She's saying that he was a kind of friend that no matter how long it had been since he'd seen her or wherever, you know, they would make that time for each other when they did get together to really recap. Aaliyah had a very deep side. She was very deep and she was very wise, and I talked about this in her last reading, that she didn't say things for the sake of saying them. Like, if she said something or she did something, it was with purpose. Aaliyah wasn't about wasting her time. Like I said, she didn't waste her time with people who she knew weren't real friends in her life or real anything. She didn't do anything unless she felt truly aligned to do it. And it was the same with people, you know. She wouldn't make time for people if she knew they weren't, you know, gonna be any meaningful kind of impact to her life, or she couldn't be of any meaningful impact to theirs. So she's saying with Jay-Z, you know, we were friends, and whenever I saw him, we always had that connection, that friendship connection. You know, it didn't matter if I hadn't spoken to him for a long time, if I hadn't seen him for a long time. It was like, you know, time had never passed, and I always made time to just sit down and be like, Jay, are you okay? And he would do the same for me, and because of that, he was a dear friend. She's saying he wasn't in my very, very imminent close circle where if I was having a problem I would pick up the phone, but I still cared, he still cared for me, and you know, if I saw him in a room, we would embrace each other and there would always be love. So she just wants to say that that's what that was. And we're going to move on to Damon Dash. Damon Dash is a Taurus. His birthday is 2 days before mine. I did not know this. Now it makes sense. I've talked about this before, and I can talk about this quite from experience, because I'm a Taurus and I'm in a relationship with a Capricorn. Aaliyah was a Capricorn and Damon Dash was a Taurus, and I did not know this, and it explains. The relationship between a Taurus and a Capricorn is very deep. It's very intense, and it's very private. It's you and that person against the world. And I can honestly say, I picked up on this as well. I did in the Q&A reading that I did, there was Gigi Hadid and Saint Malik, and they were also a Taurus and Capricorn unionship, and it's the same. Whenever I pick up on that unionship, it's the same. If you're in that unionship, let me know below, but it's a very private, us against the world. No one gets us. We are, you know, no one could ever understand the connection that we have. And I feel teary again, sorry. Damon Dash hasn't, and I don't think will ever come to terms with Aaliyah's passing. And again, she's just saying, I love him so much, I love him so much. He made her feel very safe. After a period of time, I feel, in Aaliyah's life where she didn't really know who to trust, and she felt like she didn't have anyone looking out for her. She's making me feel like he just made me feel so safe and secure, and it was our own world. And that is very much the case in a Taurian and Capricorn union. It's our world and everyone else is just in it. He was my best friend, he was my lover, he was my soulmate, he was everything. She's talking about how they would laugh, you know, she's saying he had such a sense of humour, and she's saying it's so sad that she hasn't seen him laugh in the same way since she passed. He probably won't ever stumble across this video, but she wants him to know that it's okay, like, it's okay. I feel like with Damon Dash there was always an element of guilt, because he did move on, you know, he did move on and he did have children, and he did, he was with other women, but there was always an element of guilt with him. And she's saying he would torture himself, you know, he would torture himself. He'd be like, sorry, I'm actually finding it hard to communicate this, but she's saying he would torture himself and really beat himself up, and she wants him to know, like, it's okay, like, she wants him to be happy, she wants him to be loved, and she's upset because he's not happy and he hasn't really been happy. And Damon Dash, as I feel his energy, you know, that was the happiest he'd ever been when he was with Aaliyah. Like, that was one true love. Like, that was a soulmate connection. They got each other. It's like, Aaliyah's talking about when they first met, and he really wooed her, and he approached her and he would give her all the talk, and she would just look at him and be like, stop, like, I know you, because it was very much like that. She'd be like, stop putting on this front, like, I know you. And it was very much like they knew each other from the start, which is why they just connected instantly. There was an instant safety with both of them. Not only did she feel that safety in him, but he felt it in her, and his life has never been the same. And I really do feel like, and she's making me feel like, he never recovered. He never ever recovered. He was never able to pull back and come back from it. It was real trauma, like shock, like we talked about planning our lives together. We talked about kids, homes, moving out of the city. Like, she's saying we had planned and talked about, she's showing me a big house like in the country, like we'd planned to move away, because Aaliyah was very private and she wasn't interested in really like the paparazzi and being in the, you know, the midst of it. She wanted to, you know, give her art and give her creativity and pull away. And so that's where they would have gone, and they would have been together for life. And that's what is the sad thing about it. This is a soulmate energy. They would have been together forever, and he knows that. But what she's saying is, he smells me, he feels me. He finds it very difficult to hear me. She's saying, you know, he finds it difficult to listen to my music, and that's okay. And again, she's talking about, sorry, his children. And there's one daughter, she's saying, and I picked up on this before, that she's very close to. This daughter may even dream of Aaliyah, but she's saying she's very similar to me, and she reminds him of me. She doesn't actually want to move away from talking about Damon Dash. She's, you know, I feel she's saying, I'm very aware we have to move on, but I could just stay in his energy forever. And that is so special, and so lovely. But she is saying, I'm aware we have to move on. She's just saying I could talk about how much I love him forever, but we will move on. She wants to talk about Khadijah Jones. She's saying very quickly, that's my bestie. Like, she had a real, oh my goodness. Aaliyah was the girl, you wanted her to be your friend. Like, she was your cheerleader. And she's saying, that's my sister. She's doing this with her hands. She's really proud. She's saying, when I was on Earth, Khadijah had a lot of dreams and she wanted to pursue a lot of things, and she's done everything that she wanted to do, and she's coming through with a really gloaty, like, proud. I don't know if Aaliyah was a bit older than Khadijah, but she's saying, you know, proud big sis. That's what she's saying. I'm a proud big sis. Either she was older than her, or she was older than her in her years. Aaliyah was very wise, and I feel like she was the big sister in the relationship. You know, sometimes it is like that. You may be younger in actual physical age, but in like spirit, you're older. And she's I feel like Khadijah Jones is very spiritual, because Aaliyah's showing me her with like wine and her talking to her, and she's saying, I hearing you, like, what are you, like, she's saying, girl, you are crazy. Like, she's saying, like, I don't know whether you're actually talking to me or you think I can't hear you. Like, Khadijah takes her problems to Aaliyah, and I hear her like talking to her always, and she's saying, I'm so lucky that our communication is still open, and that she still talks to me. And, you know, there's just so much vibrance and positivity. Aaliyah keeps bringing, and I don't know if Khadijah Jones has children, but from the moment I wrote Khadijah Jones's name down, Aaliyah brought with her the energy of a young boy. And I feel like it is a son. If it's not a son, it's a nephew. But she's saying, you know, this is someone who's like a son to Khadijah if he's not her son. And she's saying he's a smart one, he's a wise one, and she just wants to acknowledge his energy, and, you know, saying that she loves him also. And Aaliyah loved children. Aaliyah loved children, which I feel like is why those who she loves who have had children, she's very close to and connects very much with, because she had such a childlike energy. Like, Aaliyah on the outside, if you've seen interviews of her, she'd be very cool, very calm, very collected, like, yeah, you know, playing it back, playing it cool. But if you knew her, this is very common with earth sign energies, like, we are very reserved on the outside, but when you get in to know us, we're crazy. And she was the same. She was very reserved, very laid back, very cool, and she was always very cool. But when you really got to know her, she was very quirky, very, like, she's saying goofy, she liked to play, she liked to joke, that's who she was. And so she loved kids because she had that childlike energy herself. Moving on to Missy Elliott. It's so... She's saying, oh my goodness, she's saying me and Missy still make music together. Missy is also very spiritual, and I feel like she will channel Aaliyah before she goes into work with certain artists. I'm hearing certain artists, not all. I don't know if Missy Elliott's worked with Normani, but I'm hearing Normani. It's like Missy will be in the studio, and she'll be like, and people are like, what is this doing? But obviously we're in the studio, it's artsy, and she's actually working with Aaliyah's energy. Missy Elliott's actually a spiritual person, I feel. And she's saying she is like a big sister to me. So whereas she was that big sister role in her relationship with Khadijah, she's saying Missy Elliott was that big sister to me. And it's interesting because she's saying, I had so many different relationships in my life that were built on different things, and she's saying me and Missy had a different kind of relationship. She's saying like, she's going like this, like, you know, to put her arm around. She's saying, you know, she really took me under, and she got me on a feminine level, on a level that I hadn't been understood before. Aaliyah was very sensual, and she liked to express that, she's saying, in that swaggy way. And she's saying Missy Elliott got that in a way that no one else could. And she's saying a lot of that confidence, you know, she gave me, not so much verbally saying be confident, but in the way she carried herself. She's saying I used to watch the way she would walk and how she was so confident, because Missy Elliott does have her own style. She has that tomboyish style that, you know, didn't, you know, sex sells in the industry, you know, and, you know, at that time especially, females were being quite provocative. But she's saying Missy was different, you know. Missy would wear a big tracksuit and people would still rock with her, and it made Aaliyah think differently about how she could be herself in an expressive way. And so that femininity, that edgy femininity was so inspired by Missy Elliott. And she is saying, you know, she was such an inspiration to me. And she's actually making me feel that of all the people, Missy Elliott's heart was at peace, because she knew instantly that the soul lives on forever. She's saying, you know, me and Missy would talk a lot about spirit. When I tell you that Aaliyah was deep, I don't mean like surface level deep. I mean she was deep. When she would say things, some people would be like, what? Like, you know, you'd have to go away and really think about it, and it might come to you like a year later. Oh, okay. She's saying Missy got me. When I would say things, she'd be like, I feel you, I get you. And they had that deep feminine, it's a feminine connection. She's saying it was a deep feminine connection, because I've spoke about this before. There was a lot of men in Aaliyah's life, and she, you know, she got along with men, and men, like I said, loved her because of her cooled, chilled back energy. But she's saying with Missy, it was a feminine, where I could be a grown woman and someone could see me for who I was. And she wants to thank her for that again, and she wants to give her roses for that again. And she's saying we aren't done making tracks, and we will forever make tracks. Missy Elliott has Aaliyah tracks, actually. She's saying she has tracks of mine. She has like a vault of music, and there is unheard Aaliyah music in that vault. And sometimes Missy will get out, and when she wants to be close to Aaliyah, especially on like times like today, she'll get out her records and she'll start mixing them and playing with them, and she'll speak to her and she'll say, you know, Aaliyah, you like this? And she loves that, because it means she still gets to be involved, because Aaliyah loved music, you know, that deep artsy soul. Here we go, the light again. Missy Elliott was a light in Aaliyah's life. She allowed her to be that sensual feminine woman that she wanted to be, that grown woman. A lot of people in Aaliyah's life wanted to protect her and keep her almost as a child, you know, especially the men in her life, because, you know, that's a male role to protect. But she's making me feel that Missy Elliott let her fly and brought so much love and light to her life. And, you know, even bigger than a sister, she was like a mother sometimes to Aaliyah. She's saying again, you know, we would hug, and she's saying I miss those hugs. And, you know, she's one of the few people that saw me cry, because emotionally, you know, she's a Capricorn, she was emotionally private, but she's talking about how she could be vulnerable. You know, vulnerability is feminine, and she's saying Missy held that space for her. And there's just a lot of admiration. That's the one thing I can say that comes from Aaliyah to Missy Elliott. There's a lot of admiration. She admired her. She looked up to her. She was like an idol to her. And, you know, so it's... She wants to say I'm proud, but at the same time, it's like, I was always proud. I was always, you know, she's saying to even have my name mentioned next to Missy's, I'm honoured. So she really looked up to Missy Elliott. And lastly, Aaliyah's very sweet. Like, when she's saying, let's move on, she's like, let's move on. She's saying, my boy Tim, my brother from another mother. They also had a very, similar to her brother's energy, they had a very playful relationship. Timbaland loved Aaliyah, and I mean deeply loved. I mean, I do feel he may have at times held romantic love for Aaliyah. But Aaliyah's saying, you know, it was always clear that that line would never be crossed, and he always respected that. And he really was protective over her. She's saying he protected me so much. Sometimes it was like, oh, I'm okay, Tim, I'm okay. You know, she had to let him know, like, it's okay. His heart broke very much at her passing, very much. And part of him was never the same again as well. I talked about this before, how she left a lot of men, and DMX was another man who was never the same after Aaliyah's passing. I was going to talk about DMX in this reading, but I'm going to read on DMX on his own. So that's to come. And we'll talk about his relationship with Aaliyah, because he's very much present, and she's wanting to say, but we did discuss, and I explained I am going to read on him separate, so we will hold off on that energy until another day. But it was a very similar vibe. You know, she's saying, I was so lucky I had a lot of big brothers. But his heart broke, and there's a bit of his heart that was never the same. Aaliyah had touched so many people in so many ways, but specifically these people we've talked about here today, they were the people who knew her, who loved her. And it's almost like she doesn't want to talk too much on Timbaland, because he's very protective. It's just this protective energy, and she's just saying, you know, he was my brother. And she's saying there's not much more I need to say, because she's saying the way he's spoken about me and everything speaks for itself. And also he's very private when it comes to how he felt and how he feels about her, so she wants to respect that as well. But again, she's just saying I loved him so much, and I still do. Whew. So much love for the people who Aaliyah loved. She loved them deeply. Again, I just feel this like wall around her, but these people were in that wall. Like, everyone else was outside and these people were in. And for her, she said this in the last time I read for her, it was all about love. She talked about, if you were lucky enough, and if you are lucky enough to experience love on this earth, deep, true, genuine love, then you are blessed, and there's everything else is a bonus. And she's just saying, I love you, and always thank you. Thank you for allowing my legacy to live. Thank you for allowing my music to still be played. I'm so happy. There is still more music to come. I did touch on Aaliyah in the Q&A, and I said how the music wouldn't be released for a long time, but then we've had the ad since then. Literally, it was the same week, I think, that her album got added. But again, I said her whole catalogue, and she's saying as well, my whole catalogue needs to be added, and there's still talks about that. So that's still to come. That's still to come. So she's, you know, she's still pioneering that in spirit. Is that a white feather that's just fallen outside? And she's just very grateful heart that her legacy lives on and will live on forever. Thank you so much for being with me today, lovelies. I really hope you enjoyed this Aaliyah reading. If you have got this far, leave your favourite Aaliyah song down below. Don't possibly ask me to choose, because I can't. I love Don't Know What to Tell Ya. I love... whenever I get asked, I just can never remember Back in One Piece. That's one of my favourites. Whatever. I love so much. Aaliyah is someone I could listen to all day long. But let me know your favourite. If you can't leave one, I understand. Leave a few. And let's just spend today and every 25th of August loving Aaliyah, playing her music. And I will see you soon for another reading, lovelies. Bye.